Hello all, welcome to oratrainings.com. In this session, we'll discuss about the subqueries and Oracle database programming. Let us get into the objectives of this particular session. We should be able to understand how do we write different subqueries, what are the types of subqueries, and how do we deal with subqueries when you want to consider the single row or multiple column subqueries and the scalar subqueries, as well as the correlated subqueries when you're trying to update a particular data based on a query and usage of exist as well as non-exist operator. So let us get into subquery syntax. Like what is the syntax involved for writing a subquery? So here if you observe, like in this example, what we have done is we have written a query in the where class. We call it as subquery. Nothing but generally as per the subquery definition, when you're writing a query inside another query, it is called subquery, right? So the execution of this inside query can be single time for each particular record, or I mean to say, like for each record of your parent query, your child record may be executed. That is one scenario. Or other scenario is like your particular subquery will be executed first, and later the result of the subquery will be used in the parent. That is another kind of scenario. So in this example, we are considering that like the subquery, nothing but like when we say subquery, it is nothing but the one which is enclosed in this particular parenthesis. This is called subquery. So in this example, we are assuming that like this subquery will be executed only once, and the resultant will be used in the above query for filtering the data. Okay. So let us get in the next slide. So there are some set of guidelines we have to use it with subqueries. So one basic thing is we have to enclose the subquery in parenthesis. Okay. And other thing is, if at all, if you're trying to use a subquery for the condition purpose, make sure that should be in the right side. Okay. And coming to the usage of subquery, when you're using the order by clause logic, like we have to consider generally we use it when you want to filter the data, like based on the, let us say if you want to get top 5 paid salaried employees, or like the top 5 departments in which there are larger number of employees, in those kind of queries we generally call them as top end queries. Okay. Other one is like using a single row operator with some single row subqueries and multiple row operator with multiple row subqueries. And if at all, if you're trying to compare a single value, and if you're using a subquery to comparison, make sure that you use a single value comparison operators. If at all, if you're trying to use a multiple row values in the parent query with the subquery, then you have to use the multiple row operators. Okay, this is a very important thing, like a single row comparison or a multiple row operation. Let us say if you are trying to compare a subquery which is returning multiple rows, and if you're trying to use this particular is equal to or less than, that will not work. Okay. Yeah. So here, if you observe some of the examples here, like in the first one, what are we trying to do is like let us say I'm trying to get minimum salary in the subquery. What we have written, we have written a query which is returning a minimum salary from the employee table, and we are retrieving all the employees who are having the minimum salary. So that's the logic. Okay. And let us say if you want to get the employee who is getting the minimum salary, right? Let us say if you want to get the employee who is getting the minimum salary, then like what we can do is inside the subquery, what we have done is here we have written a query inside which is retrieving all the records, but we're sorting them based on the salary. So what will happen? Assume that like employee table is having 14 records, and we're sorting all the data based on the salary, and we have mentioned row num is equal to 1. So what exactly this will do is row num, when you say row num, generally like whenever data is fetched from Oracle, each row will be assigned a logical position, like 1 2 3 starts with 1, and the highest will be based on the number of records fetched. Okay, it is nothing but a row sequence, I can say. And then what we mentioned here, row num is equal to 1, nothing but the first record will be fetched here, nothing but as we already sorted the data based on the ascending, and we mentioned row num is equal to 1, it means that the first record will be fetched. So here are some of the example when you want to use multiple multiple row comparison. Okay. So what are we trying to do is here, if you observe the inside query, what it is returning, it is trying to retrieve all the salaries of the job of the employees where the job is equal to clerk. Okay. And but here if you observe the parent query, what we mentioned is we mentioned salary less than all. So first thing is like first we have to understand the inside. So how the execution happens is like first of all the where, first of all like if at all, if the generally like a from is evaluated, and after that like a where clause will be evaluated. But like this cannot, like the parent query cannot be executed until unless the child query is executed. So what will happen is the child query has to be executed, and here if you observe, the child query is independent of the parent query. So in some scenarios where there is a chance that, like for every row of the parent query, child query should be executed, but here it is independent. So it is retrieving all the salaries where the job is equal to clerk. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to compare salary of this particular parent table with the less than all we mentioned. So what does less than all means? That the minimum value in the list. So here it retrieved all the records, and we are trying to get the minimum salary. And this particular above query should retrieve all the employees whose salary is less than the minimum salary value, which is retrieved in the inside query. So that's the logic you have to carefully consider when you are using this kind of logic. Okay, coming to the next slide. When you're trying to use the subqueries, see, like we know that like when you're using whenever you are dealing with null, even just when you're comparing the values in the where condition also, or maybe when you're trying to display the data in the select clause also, we have to be very careful with the null. Either we have to use the NVL appropriately, or whether we have to compare using a condition is null or is not null. Similarly, when you're trying to use subqueries where where the columns are having null value, then make sure that you consider the NVL logic also. So here, if you observe, what we are trying to do is in the above query, it seems syntactically it will never give an error. Syntactically, this will not give any error. So we can try to check some of the logics now before proceeding with the NVL. So let me open this. Okay, let's write few samples before proceeding with the NVL logic. Okay, so let me fetch the data from the MP first. We got the data, and here the same set of data we have 14 records. Now I just want to display the department information without joining in the from class. I mean to say, what I want to do is I'll just say from EMP. Now I want to display, I don't want to join department at this in the from class. I want to join using a subquery kind of fashion. I want to join using a subquery kind of fashion. See, without joining, we cannot get the department name, right? That is first basic thing. Without joining with the department, I cannot get the data. Until unless maybe if you're using a PL SQL function, then you can get it. But within the SQL, if you want to get the department data, I have to join it. But joining can be using within the from class, or you can use a subquery logic also. Now what I can do is I want to get the department name. So one fashion what I can do is, this is how I can try to write. Like I'll just say select d dot d name from department, and d dot department number is equal to e dot department number. This is one way of writing logic based on when you're trying to use a subquery. Okay, dptnbo. I'll say d name column alias. Okay, similar query. Like now what will happen? First, the from clause is evaluated, and for each from clause, what will happen? This query will be evaluated. Now here, if you observe, generally, like, let us say if you're trying to use the here, like we'll get 14 rows, and wherever the value of the department number is null, you'll simply get null. There is no issue with the equijoiner or outer join kind of thing. So in this one, right, simply it will give you, it will work properly without having an issue. And one more thing I want to show you is, let us say, assume that like you forgot to perform a join. Assume that you forgot to perform a join. What will happen now? Let us say I just mentioned the query, and assume that like for a given department, it is retrieving multiple records. See what will happen now. So what it is telling, single row subquery returns more than one row. So the expectation is that for every column of department number in the employee, you should get only one record, at least one record, not more than that. Either zero or null. I mean either zero record or one record, nothing more than that. If you get more than one record, you'll get this kind of error. Okay, that is why you should be very careful in this one. So there is one way to solve this. Let us say I can just mention where row num less than 2, but the department name which you get, it is not at all a proper one. It is just simply returning any record which is getting as a first position in the department table. It doesn't bother about to join it, because we have not joined it, right? We have not joined it. So until unless you join properly, you'll not get a proper data. Okay. Now So we can write one more logic using a subquery. Let us say I just want to retrieve all the employees. Sorry, I just want to retrieve the employee who is getting minimum salary. Okay. So now what I want to do is, let us say, how do you get a minimum salary? We'll use select min of salary from EMP. So this is how we can get a minimum salary. But what I want to do is I want to get the employee name who is getting a minimum salary. So what I can do, I can just write like this: select star from EMP where salary is equal to like this, right? Now, what are we missing? Whenever writing any subquery, you should make sure that you include them in a parenthesis. That's the first thing, right? So I just got only one record, right? I just got only one record. There is only one employee who is getting the minimum salary. Okay. Now try with the same thing with the maximum. I'll just try to get the employee who's getting the maximum salary. So what I'll do, I'll just simply mention max. So here also the maximum salary is 5,000, right? Now let us say what I want to do is I just want to retrieve the employees, retrieve the top five salaried employees. So what I want to do is I just want to retrieve the top five salaried employees. Nothing but what I'll do, I just need to sort the data based on the salary, order by salary, descending, right? Top five salaried employees. But here, if you see now what I'm getting when I mentioned order by salary descending, I'm getting all 14 records, but I don't want to. I don't want to get all 14 records. So now just observe this one: EMP number, E name, salary, job. That's it. And here I'll mention two pseudo columns which are provided by Oracle: row ID and row num. And what are the difference here? So here if you observe, okay, before performing sorting, let us say I'll remove sorting now and just see. Okay, so now if I don't mention sorting and I just executed the data, and for every column has a row ID. Every column has a unique row ID. So the row ID is the physical column in which like Oracle uses to retrieve the record. Row num is just a logical column which will be provided only after execution of a query, but this is always a permanent thing. Row ID will not be repeated for any record in the database. This will be unique for a given record for a given table. Okay, this is a physical address I can say, but row num is just a logical value. Like whenever you execute a query, and Oracle provides a row number in a sequence manner. That's it. Now here, if you observe what is happening, let us say I mentioned order by salary. Okay, order by salary descending. Now we know that how does the execution happens? Like generally, if you observe in a SQL query, we have clauses like this, right? Select star from where, group by, having, and order. So in our case, we don't. In this sample, we don't have group by, and having. Now, how the execution will happen? So first of all, it will retrieve the data from the from clause, right? And then it will perform the condition. Now, let us say if it will filter the data if at all if you have any where clause, and then order by. Now anyway we don't have where, so we just have only three: select, from, as well as order. Now when you mention select start from EMP, what is happening? Like it got the data. While retrieving the data itself, it had the row ID and row num, and then you perform the order by. Then what is happening? The positioning of a row num got disturbed, right? The positioning of the order like our row num got disturbed. Okay, nothing but it got changed. That is how it works. Now order by salary descending. Now what I need to do is I just want to show the five records. So why I'm telling this one, because generally what is the expectation is that what we'll do is, okay, I'll just mention order by salary descending, and then I'll just add up a where clause where row num less than 5, row num less than 6, I can say, all is equal to 5, whichever it is, right? Both will work. I'll say row num less than 5, less than 6. But this is wrong. Okay, this is wrong. You can just observe here. You can just copy the result also. This is wrong. So similar, what I'll do is I'll just consider this logic. Instead of this query, what I'll do is I'll say select start from, using a subquery logic. I'll mention where row num less than 6. Now let's see whether we get the same data or not, right? Well, better you can remove the inner this row ID and row num. Okay, can you see? Is this matching? First of all, let us compare. So earlier we got King, okay, Scott we got, and after that Ford. Ford is getting missed, right? Ford is getting missed. 29752840. Instead of Blake, we are getting sorry, Blake. Blake we got it. Clark. Clark is an extra thing which we got here. Instead of Scott, we got right. King Scott we got it. So here we got Jones, right? Ford is missing. Instead of Ford, we got Jones, right? Which is the wrong thing. So this is how it happens, right? So we should be very careful when you're dealing with the top end queries, right? The best thing is, first of all, don't use order by, sorry, don't use row num. Make sure that you order the data later on use a row num using a subquery logic. This is how you have to perform the top end analysis query. This is one of the way. There are a number of ways which we have it, which Oracle is providing in the latest versions, but this is one of the simple way where you can perform the top end analysis. Okay. Now coming to the null values in a subquery. So let us come back to the subquery logic using a null. I'll say I just want to select start from department where department NO1 select department number from EMP. So I just want to retrieve all the department names which are having departments in the employee. Okay, now just execute this query. Now what is happening? So we got this particular set of records, right? We got this particular set of records where department number is equal to select department number from this one. So but if you are trying to join, so now here if you observe in this example, what are we trying to do? So EMP number not in this one, select MGR from this so and so, right? Now let us say instead of this one, if I just perform logic like this, where department number not in. So now why it is not displaying? First of all, just see how many records we have it. So we have, I'll just mention order by one. So there are 6 records here, right? There are 6 records. Okay. And now how many records, how many distinct records are available in the EMB table? There are 3 records, I guess. Select department number, right? There are 3 records. Maybe you can ignore the null, but 10, 20, and 30, right? 10, 20, and 30. So when I use in clause, this was working fine, right? It is just simply displaying 10, 20, 30. This is working fine. But when I'm trying to display the departments which are not in the department here, so select department number from EMB, it will display all the stuff, right? It will display like all the departments, right? Anyway, we have not mentioned distinct. That is okay, but still. Now I just want to retrieve the data from the department table which is not matching with these 10, 20, and 30. But here what is happening? The expectation was I need to get it 40, 50, and 60. But instead of that, what I'm getting, I'm not getting any record. The issue is there is one department which is having null. When you're using in class, that is working somehow. But when you're using not in class, that is not working fine. The way we can solve this one is just apply the NVL comma, just mention some value, just mention any value, right? I'll say -1. Got it? Or you can mention any value, but that should not be null. Okay, that's how we have to deal with when you're trying to having a null in your subqueries. Make sure that you always use NVL, even if it is working fine. Also, make sure that you always mention some value. Okay, now here also I can apply NVL, still will get the proper result. Okay, but when you mention the NVL comma some value, make sure that that should not be that should not give you some duplicate data, that should not give you unrelated data. Let us if at all if I give 60, what will happen? It's a wrong thing, right? I'm unnecessarily giving a 60. That's not a correct one, right? So make sure that you mention some value which is not available in other table, so that you'll get a proper data. Okay. Now, so multiple column subqueries. So far what we have done is we're trying to extract, we're trying to compare a single value in the child query. But if you're trying to mention multiple columns, then what is the way we have to deal with? So when you're trying to deal with multiple column subqueries, there are two ways of comparison. One is pairwise comparison, other one is non-pairwise comparison. Okay, let us see the example. So the pairwise comparison, what is happening here? So in this example, when you say pairwise comparison, so the pair manager and department number will be validated with the manager department number in the child class. That is how it is working. That's a pairwise comparison. Non-pairwise comparison, what we do is like independently we'll try to compare. Independently we'll try to compare multiple subqueries. We'll write it. That is a non-pairwise comparison. Okay. Now other one, scalar subquery expression. So it is kind of like it's all nothing but is simple subqueries only. But here what we're trying to do is we're trying to execute a subquery based on a particular condition. This is called scalar subquery. So in this example here, what are we trying to do? If I'm trying to execute a particular query based on the department number in another table. Like let us say whenever the when department number is equal to something, display a particular value, else display some other value. Right? Now let us say let us write that logic. Scalar subquery. Select empno dptno. Okay. So assume that I want to execute, I want to display department name only for the employee, only for the department 10. Okay. I just want to display okay case so get the information from this one. Select the name from dpt. I'll say whenever I'm just trying to just do some kind of logic to see how this will work. Okay. So here I'll just write in a different line to just understand properly. So what I'm trying to do, let us say I'm just trying to compare whenever the department number, whenever the department name is equal to accounting, okay, if at all you're getting a department like this, then what we have to do, I just want to display then valid department, else I'll say invalid department, something like this. So what I'm trying to do is I just whenever I'm getting the department number as 10, I'm trying to display the value of them, else I'm just ignoring the other departments, right? Let's see. Okay, there is some more case when then else, right? Somewhere I still feel there's a mistake. 55 we have some issue. Okay. Okay, when you're using case you have to mention end, right? That's the reason. Okay, still we got some issue, right? I don't understand. Okay, let me copy this. I'm finding difficulty in this. Let's see. So for case it has to have end, right? So what is the issue? Just see this carefully. So the issue is the case, you have a case here, and this one. Okay, what is dptno? Okay, now here if you observe, let's say department info. Now wherever you have 10, it says valid department. Wherever you have 30, it says invalid department. This just to understand how we can execute a subquery based on some condition, right? This is nothing but a scalar subquery. Okay, so this seems a very simple query, but like in real time, it will be of much help. Okay, now coming next slide. So far we have executed subqueries like where it is independent, right? But when you're trying to use a parent value in the child value, there's nothing but a correlated subquery. Okay, they're executed for every row of the parent query. This is called correlated subquery. Here, if you observe what we are trying to do, we're trying to get the average salary from a particular department and then displaying all those employees, whose salary is greater than the average salaries in a particular department. Okay, so this is how we can use of the correlated subquery. Okay, so this is in this one, here what are we having? So like this particular subquery will be executed for every row of the parent. Why? Because we have joined the employee with a department here. E dot department number is called D dot department number, right? That's why it is called correlated subquery. Now coming to the important one, exist operator. So here in this particular functionality, why do we use exist operators? Like generally, so far what we have used is like is equal to, greater than any, less than any, in clause, right? Not in. We have used all those things. But what is this exist is all about? So it just simply text. It will just test for the existence of a row. Okay, it will not compare. But of course, it is a correlated subquery only. But here, what we are trying to do is we just want to see, okay, do I have a record with this value in your child or not? Okay, if it is there, that's okay. I'll display the data. If it is not there, I will not display the data. Okay, it is all similar to the in logic. There is nothing specialty in this one. It's just similar to the in logic. If at all, if you're not comfortable with the exist, simply use in operator. It simply uses, it's the same, both are same, I can say. In this example here, what are we trying to do? I'm trying to get all the employees. For the first one, select EMP number, ename from the employee, where exist. Select one from EMP where manager is equal to EMP number. I'm trying to get all the managers. Simple. I'm trying to get all the managers for a given employee. But the parent will retrieve a particular record. For that record, it will compare it. If it gives the value, it will return the value. Else, it will not return the value. Let us write this logic using exist operator. Let us write the data e dot emp number, e dot ename, e dot department number. Okay, let's see. What I want to do is I just want to use, if this department number exists in a table, then display that record, else don't display the record. So I don't want to use the department table. I just want to use another table. So I'll just create one table, create table access dpt as select star from dpt. It'll just simply create the data as well as copy the data, and it'll create the data. I mean, what it'll do is this particular create table with select clause will perform the creation of the table as well as insertion of the data. Okay, just perform commit now. Just perform commit now, so the data will be persist. Now, next thing what I want to do is, so in this particular xxdp table, I just want to include only few records. Okay, so delete from xxdpt where dptno not in 10 comma 20. So I just deleted all the data except 10 comma 20. Okay, now similarly you can perform committed. Now just comment this one. Okay, now how many records are there? Only 10 comma 20. Now what I want to do is, so we know that employee table is having set of employees who are in the department 10, 20 and 30. Now this particular logic, what I want to do is I just want to just see select one from xxdpt. So what exactly this will do? Okay, Okay, so now what is happening? You're getting all 14 records, even you're getting 31. Why? Because you have not done any subquery logic. What I'm trying to tell you is like it is not a correlated subquery, right? It is not a correlated subquery. You're not trying to validate the data of that. You're not trying to use the parent value and the child value until unless you join them. Why it will work, right? It is true for every record. So now what I'll do is xd where xd.dptnvo is equal to e.dptnvo. I don't want to retrieve any value from the department access department table. I just want to see whether the department which is available, the parent is available in the child table or not. That's it. Now just see. Can you see? I'm getting only the records which are matching with 10 and 20. This is similar to when you perform equijoin, or this is similar to like this also. What I can do is select same thing. I'll write another way where e.department no is equal to select dpt-nvo from xxdpt. This is what the above one is. This is what the above one is. You're getting same 7 records, and here also you'll get same 7 records. There is no difference. Either you can use exist operator, or either you can use this particular in clause. Generally, like a few developers prefer this one, okay, because they don't want to retrieve any value, they don't want to compare any value. Simply I just perform a join, that's it, right? I don't want to retrieve the value and then compare the value. I can just do a conditional, and if it is there, display, else don't display, right? This is the efficient way of writing it. Exist operator is efficient compared to the in clause. Now correlated update. If you're trying to perform the update statement based on the select clause, it's called correlated update. So now what will happen is the data will get updated based on the satisfaction of the based on the result of the select query, right? So now here in this example, what is happening? You're trying to set the department name, update emp table, set department number is equal to select department name from the department D, where like you're just trying to perform the update on a particular table, right? Now I'll just see, we'll just perform one update. Let us say update set department number is equal to, I'll just say xx xd set xd dot dname is equal to select dname from department D, where is equal to 10. Some particular logic, right? There are a number of ways of writing it is okay. There are a number of ways. So what is the issue? Okay, this is 10, right? Department number. 2 rows got updated. Why 2 rows got updated? Because the reason is we are not considered the filtering criteria of the XD table. This very important one here. If you're trying to see the data in the access department table, what is happening? The 2 departments simply got updated with the name accounting. Okay, because you're trying to update all the records. We have not mentioned the where condition, the update clause. What will happen? It will update all the records of the parent table. Okay, so then simply as of now roll back. I just roll back. Now we should see the accounting and research. Not to have any disturbance in this one, what you can do is where just mention where here xd department is equal to d dot department. This is enough. You don't require 2 conditions. You can simply mention where xd department is equal to, but I just want to add up. I just want to see whether the record is getting updated or not. I'll just say new something like this. Okay, now just see 2 rows got updated, but it should be proper now, right? New accounting and new research. It is not that every record is having the same value. So you just need to make sure that you have the appropriate condition so that will not accidentally update the old data, which is unnecessary. Okay, now coming to the other one, with clause. So like sometimes what will happen is when you're trying to write a complex query, there are chances that like a portion of the query which you may be writing multiple times. Okay, to overcome that particular functionality, Oracle introduced a logic called with clause. So with clause, what will happen is like using a with clause, you'll be creating a table on the fly, a table with the data on the fly, and you can use that particular table. You can use that particular table wherever you require. Oracle stores that particular table in a temporary table space till your query is alive. Okay, and after that it will just simply discard that one. Just see this example here. So here if you observe, what we're trying to do is we just want to get the average salary, and if at all if you want to get this average salary in all the logic of your particular complex query, then the above one you can just write using a with clause. So let us see how we have written it. So here if you observe what we have done with summary as, so we are trying to get the department number, sum of the salary for each department, for like based on the based on, for each department we are trying to get the, for each department we are trying to get the total salaries, and then using a summary logic we are trying to retrieve all the departments where their salaries are greater than like a particular logic, like maybe a 30% of the department total. We are trying to get that. So in the other one just observe the very simple one. So here what I am doing with emp details as select star from emp. So now the table emp underscore details will have all the data. Okay, and you can simply mention select start from emp details, which will retrieve all the data, right? Just see this example. Let us write with emp details as select start from emp. Okay, now we mention select start from emp details. Okay, this is how we can retrieve all the information. Let us say I just want to retrieve, let us say let us try to make use of this one, right? So I'll just say e dot emp no, something like this, e dot department number. Okay, now we got this data. Now I just want to use the emp details again. I'll just say union select d dot department number from department. So as of now I have not used it, but now what I'll do is, let us say where I just want to consider only the departments which are available in the emp details dpt no in select. We can, I just want to use the subquery, so that's why I'm writing like this. I'll just say select distinct department number from emp details. That's it. So instead of writing 2 times, I just use only 1 time, right? Okay. So this is how, like this emp details I used in this particular line number 86, and also in line number 89 also I use the emp details. Even though like here if you observe, I just wrote it only once, right? The select star from emp I just wrote it only once, but I have used here in the 87 line as well as 90 line. So this is how we can try to use, you can write a whenever you're trying to design a complex logic, make sure that like you can try to use a with clause as much as you can. That will solve rewriting all the queries, as well as it will help you, like maintaining the query, like rather than, one thing is redundancy, other one is like manageability. Nothing but, let us say if you require to change anything, what will happen is wherever you have that query, you have to change every place. But when you have a if clause, what will happen is you just need to change only the place where you are dealing with that query, right? That will help out to manage the coding properly. Okay, now coming to the final slide. So far what we have learned is, like, we have understood how do we write a subquery logic. Okay, and we have seen how to perform a update using a subquery. We have seen the correlated subqueries, single row subquery, multiple row subquery, as well as scalar row subquery as well. Also we have seen the using a with clause also. Okay, thank you.